4 years, millions of viewers believed they understood the complicated world of the Brown family. The cameras followed their lives, their arguments, their celebrations, and their struggles on the hit reality series Sister Wives. Fans watched the rise and slow collapse of a plural marriage that once claimed to be built on faith, equality, and family unity. But now, one of the daughters who grew up inside that world is revealing a version of the story that is far more unsettling than anything shown on television. And according to Mykelti Brown, the truth about her father, Kody Brown, has been hiding in plain sight for decades. The moment that changed everything for Mykelti didn't come during some dramatic family explosion. It didn't happen during a screaming match or a painful breakup. Instead, it came from something deceptively small, something that, at first glance, might seem almost meaningless. Kitchen counter, shelf, kettle. But sometimes the smallest details reveal the biggest truths. During a candid conversation on her Patreon livestream with her husband Tony Padron, Mykelti was asked a simple question that unexpectedly opened the door to a much larger revelation. What was the moment that made everything click for her? What was the moment when she finally understood who her father really was? Her answer came quickly, almost too quickly, as if the realization had been sitting quietly in her mind for years waiting to finally be spoken aloud. She said the moment she realized that her father preferred the company of women. Now at first that statement might sound obvious. After all, Kody Brown built his entire life around plural marriage. He married 4 women and raised 18 children. Being surrounded by women was practically the foundation of his lifestyle. But that wasn't what Mykelti meant. What she meant was something much deeper, something far more revealing about how her father treated the women in his life differently depending on who they were and what role they played in his world. And the evidence for that difference, strangely enough, lived in the kitchen of one particular house. Mykelti began describing something she noticed every time she visited the home of Robin Brown. Without hesitation, she explained that her father had his own dedicated counter space there. Not just a small corner or temporary spot, but a clearly defined personal area in the kitchen that belonged entirely to him. She even gestured with her hands while explaining it, showing how large the space was. Next to that counter was a shelf filled with his drinks, carefully arranged and easy to access. Sitting nearby was his electric tea kettle, always ready whenever he wanted a cup of tea. His snacks were there. His personal items were there. Everything was organized exactly how he liked it. It was his space, his territory, his comfort zone. It was the kind of space someone creates when they truly feel at home somewhere. And that's when Mykelti dropped the detail that instantly changed the entire meaning of the story. He never had anything like that at her mother's house. Not once. Not during the many years that he was married to Christine Brown. Not during the decades they spent raising children together. Not during all the years when the cameras were filming and the family was presenting itself as a united group of equal partners. There was never a counter for him there. No shelf. No kettle. No designated place that belonged to him. And that simple difference spoke volumes. Because when someone builds a personal space inside a home, it means they plan to stay. It means they are comfortable enough to claim a part of the environment as their own. But when someone never creates that space, when they move through a home without leaving any mark of themselves behind, it suggests something else entirely. It suggests they never truly considered that place their home. Tony immediately picked up on the deeper meaning behind what Mykelti was describing. He pointed out that Kody seemed far more accommodating when he was at Robin's house than he was at any of the other homes. If something required effort or adjustment, Kody usually refused to do it, unless the situation involved Robin. For Robin, the rules seemed to change. For Robin, suddenly effort wasn't a problem. Mykelti didn't hesitate to confirm that observation. She explained that her father behaved very differently depending on where he was. At her mother's house, he could be messy, careless, and completely unconcerned with how things looked or how his behavior affected the environment around him. But at Robin's house, everything was different. Suddenly he cared about organization. Suddenly he cared about appearances. Suddenly he wanted things to be neat and presentable. And once you see that pattern, it becomes impossible to ignore what it represents. Because this wasn't really about kitchens. It wasn't about tea kettles. It wasn't about shelves or counters. It was about respect. It was about where he felt valued enough to invest his time and attention. And it was about where he clearly didn't. Imagine growing up as a child and witnessing that dynamic play out over and over again. Imagine seeing your father create comfort and stability in one home while treating another home as nothing more than a temporary stop on a rotating schedule. That kind of difference doesn't stay hidden from children for long. Kids notice everything. They notice where their parents smile more. They notice where their parents relax. They notice where their parents seem happiest. And slowly, those observations begin forming painful questions that children rarely feel brave enough to ask. Why does Dad seem happier there? Why does he care more about that house? Why does he try harder for them? For Mykelti, those questions lingered quietly in the background for years. But the patterns didn't stop with kitchen counters and household behavior. They extended into nearly every aspect of family life. Even something as simple as food revealed the hidden dynamics inside the Brown family. According to Mykelti, her mother Christine's cooking had a reputation within the family. It was either incredible or terrible. There was no middle ground. Some meals were unforgettable in the best possible way. Dishes that everyone loved and requested again and again. Other meals were complete disasters that nobody wanted to repeat. But regardless of how successful the meal was, one thing was always true. Christine was the one doing the cooking. She was the one feeding a massive family with limited resources, stretching ingredients, experimenting with recipes, and doing her best to keep everyone full. Then Mykelti began describing the cooking style of another wife in the family, Mary Brown. And the contrast revealed something fascinating. According to Mykelti, Mary's cooking often wasn't particularly impressive when it came to flavor. But when Mary prepared food that didn't require actual cooking, when she assembled platters, arranged snacks, or created beautiful displays of store-bought items, everything suddenly looked perfect. She was meticulous about presentation. The food might not always taste amazing, but it always looked amazing. And that detail matters more than it might seem at first. Because when someone prioritizes presentation over substance, it often means they understand what the person they are trying to impress values most. And in this family, appearance seemed to matter a lot. Perhaps more than anyone realized at the time. What Mykelti revealed next pushed the story far beyond small household differences. Because once the conversation moved away from kitchens and counters, it exposed something much deeper about how the family truly functioned behind the scenes. The truth, according to Mykelti and Tony, was that inequality wasn't just something that occasionally appeared in the Brown household. It was actually built into the system itself. For years, viewers of Sister Wives were told that plural marriage in the Brown family worked because everything was handled fairly. The wives supposedly communicated with each other, made decisions together, and supported a rotating schedule that allowed each household to receive equal time with Kody Brown. On television, the arrangement was often presented as organized and cooperative. It looked complicated, but it also appeared structured. But according to Mykelti Brown, the reality was far less balanced than viewers believed. She explained that the wives would meet regularly to plan Kody's schedule. These meetings could happen weekly or monthly depending on what was going on in the family. During those discussions, they would decide where Kody would spend each night, which house he would stay at, and how the rotation would work. On paper, it sounded democratic. Everyone had a voice. Everyone was supposed to agree. But there was one critical detail that made the entire system unequal from the very beginning. The first wife, Mary Brown, had the final say. In other words, if the other wives agreed on something but Mary didn't like the outcome, she could override the decision. Her position as the first wife gave her authority that the others simply didn't have. That meant she could influence the schedule in ways that benefited her, even if the rest of the family had different preferences. For years, that was simply accepted as part of the family hierarchy. But everything changed when the fourth wife entered the picture. When Robin Brown joined the family, the entire power structure began shifting in ways that no one expected. Suddenly, The rules that had existed for years seemed to lose their importance. The schedule that was supposed to be balanced started leaning heavily in one direction. And the man who was supposed to divide his time equally between 4 households appeared to be spending more and more time in one particular home. It didn't happen overnight. First, the changes were subtle. Small adjustments, minor differences that could easily be explained away. But over time, the pattern became impossible to ignore. And the children noticed it too. Children have a way of recognizing unfairness long before adults are willing to admit it. They see which houses their parents visit most often. They notice which siblings get more attention. They hear the conversations adults think they're hiding. Inside the Brown family, those observations slowly built into frustration. But the most painful realization for many of the kids had nothing to do with schedules or sleeping arrangements. It had to do with money. During the live stream, Mykelti explained that the Brown family struggled financially for many years while the children were growing up. With so many kids in multiple households, resources were stretched incredibly thin. Budgets were tight. Expenses were constant. And providing for such a large group was a challenge that never seemed to go away. Yet despite those struggles, something about their father's behavior confused and frustrated many of the children. Even when money was tight, even when the family was clearly having difficulty providing for everyone, Kody continued expressing interest in having more kids. For the sons in the family, this became a serious issue. At some point, several of them began confronting their father directly. According to Mykelti, they didn't hold back when they spoke to him about it. They told him the truth as they saw it. They told him that the family had struggled for years to provide for the children who were already there. They told him that attention and emotional support were limited because there were simply too many kids competing for one father's time. And then they asked the question that had been bothering them for years. Why keep having more children? Why expand the family when the existing kids already felt like they were fighting for attention? It was a brutally honest question. But it was also a completely reasonable one. Instead of taking the criticism seriously, however, Mykelti said their father reacted very differently than they hoped. He became annoyed. Rather than reflecting on what his sons were telling him, rather than considering whether they might have a point, he treated their concerns like an inconvenience. To him, the conversations felt like challenges to his authority. And that reaction revealed something deeply troubling about the family dynamic. Because when children feel brave enough to confront their parent about emotional neglect, it usually means the situation has been building for a very long time. Those kinds of conversations don't happen casually. They happen when frustration has finally reached a breaking point. For the Brown sons, that breaking point came when they realized their father still seemed interested in growing the family, even though they already felt overlooked. And the issue of favoritism didn't stop there. In fact, according to Tony, one of the most uncomfortable truths about Kody's personality was something many people had quietly suspected but never heard spoken out loud. He had a strong preference for beauty, not just in objects or possessions but in people. Tony explained that Kody had always been drawn to things that looked nice. He liked things that were visually appealing. Presentation mattered to him. Appearance mattered to him. And according to Tony, that preference extended to his children. He openly admitted that Kody seemed to favor the kids who appeared more polished or attractive. Tony recalled hearing Kody talk about one daughter in particular as his favorite. That daughter was Aspen Brown. When Tony mentioned this during the live stream, Mykelti immediately reacted with surprise. She pushed back slightly, saying that she had never heard her father openly declare that anyone was his favorite. But Tony insisted he remembered the conversation clearly. And the detail he added next made the moment even more uncomfortable. According to Tony, part of the reason Kody admired Aspen so much was because she was always well put together. She dressed nicely. She took care of her appearance. She looked polished and presentable. In other words, she fit the aesthetic that Kody admired. For Mykelti, hearing that explanation touched on something deeply personal. She admitted that growing up as the second child often made her feel insecure. Watching her sister receive admiration from their father created a quiet sense of comparison that followed her through childhood. She said something during the live stream that revealed just how deeply those feelings had stayed with her. As the insecure second child, I don't want to hear that. Those words carried years of emotional weight. Because when children grow up believing that a parent favors one sibling over another, it creates insecurities that don't easily disappear. Even when those children become adults, the memory of those comparisons can linger. And when favoritism appears connected to appearance, the emotional impact becomes even more complicated. But according to Mykelti, this obsession with appearances didn't start with her father. For years, one thing about Mykelti Brown stood out to viewers of Sister Wives more than almost anything else. No matter how tense the family drama became, no matter how many siblings pulled away from their father, and no matter how many accusations surfaced about favoritism and unequal treatment, Mykelti always seemed to be the bridge. She was the one who tried to keep communication alive. While other children openly criticized Kody Brown and distanced themselves from his household, Mykelti often took a more diplomatic path. She visited more frequently. She stayed in contact. And perhaps most importantly, she remained one of the very few siblings who consistently defended Robin Brown when tensions with the rest of the family escalated. That loyalty didn't go unnoticed. In fact, for a long time, many fans believed Mykelti had one of the closest relationships with Robin out of all the older children. She spoke kindly about her. She encouraged others to understand her perspective. And she often positioned herself as someone trying to keep peace within a family that seemed increasingly fractured. There were even moments that seemed to confirm that closeness. When Mykelti gave birth to her daughter and later her twins, Robin was one of the few family members she made sure could still be included in the experience. At one point, when Robin couldn't attend in person, Mykelti arranged for her to join through video so she could still witness the moment. Those aren't the kinds of gestures people make for someone they dislike. Those are the actions of someone who genuinely cares about maintaining a relationship. That's why what happened later shocked so many people. Because something occurred that was powerful enough to destroy that loyalty almost overnight. And strangely enough, the full details have never been revealed. The turning point, according to Mykelti herself, happened during the funeral of her brother, Garrison Brown. Garrison's death devastated the Brown family and sent shockwaves through the fan community surrounding Sister Wives. For many viewers, it was one of the most heartbreaking moments the family had ever faced. Funerals are often moments when families come together despite their differences. Long-standing conflicts are set aside, even if only temporarily, so people can grieve together and support one another. But according to Mykelti, something happened during that funeral that had the exact opposite effect. Instead of bringing the family closer, it pushed her further away from Robin than she had ever been before. The first hint that something serious had occurred appeared months later in September 2024 when a Patreon subscriber challenged Mykelti directly. The commenter accused her of being dishonest about her relationship with Robin and suggested she had been pretending everything was fine. Rather than ignoring the accusation, Mykelti responded. And her response stunned people. She admitted that for years she had been extremely supportive of Robin. She confirmed that their relationship had always been strong. But then she added a sentence that immediately caught everyone's attention. She said things had changed recently. Specifically, she said something had happened during the funeral. Then she stopped. She made it very clear she would not share the details. But by saying even that much, she revealed something important. Whatever happened was serious enough to completely alter the relationship. Think about how significant that is. Mykelti had spent years defending Robin when other siblings refused to even speak with her. She had tried to keep the connection alive when many people in the family were ready to walk away. And yet one moment during one tragic event managed to undo all of that. It was a breaking point. A line that, once crossed, could not be uncrossed. Naturally, fans immediately began speculating. Some wondered if the conflict involved where Robin sat during the service. Others questioned whether something insensitive might have been said to the grieving family members, particularly to Janelle Brown, who had just lost her son. Another theory involved Robin's children. Some viewers noticed that Robin's kids were reportedly absent from the funeral, and that absence sparked conversations about how disconnected the family had become. If that detail played a role in what upset Mykelti, it could explain why the situation felt so deeply personal. But none of those theories have ever been confirmed. Mykelti has remained firm about keeping the details private. All anyone knows is that after the funeral, the relationship she once protected so fiercely was never the same again. And eventually, the distance between them became impossible to ignore. During an interview on the show Pop Psych, Mykelti was asked directly about her current relationship with Robin. Her answer was noticeably cautious. She said they were not talking very much anymore. There hadn't been some dramatic announcement or official declaration that the relationship was over. Instead, communication had simply faded away. But what she said next revealed how much her perspective had changed. For the first time publicly, Mykelti questioned the very beginning of her relationship with Robin. She wondered aloud whether Robin had intentionally built that bond for strategic reasons. Was the connection genuine? Or had Robin simply recognized that gaining Mykelti's trust would give her an ally within Christine Brown's household? That question alone speaks volumes. Because when someone begins to question the origin of a relationship they once trusted completely, it usually means their understanding of the past has shifted dramatically. And in Mykelti's case, that shift didn't just affect how she viewed Robin. It also changed how she viewed her father. Another moment from her Patreon discussions revealed just how distant things had become between her and Kody. In December 2025, Kody traveled to North Carolina to film a scene for Sister Wives. The purpose of the trip, according to the show's storyline, was to film an apology conversation with Janelle. The scene was presented as part of Kody's attempt to repair relationships with his former wives and move toward reconciliation. But there was one detail the episode never mentioned. 4 of Kody's children live in North Carolina. That includes Mykelti herself. When she revealed this during a Patreon video, the silence from her father became impossible to ignore. Despite traveling to the same state where several of his children lived, Kody never contacted them. No phone call, no text message, no email, nothing. Mykelti explained that she would have been willing to drive more than 3 hours to see him if he had simply reached out. Even with 3 small children to manage, including twins, she said she would have made the trip because she still wanted a relationship with her father. But the invitation never came. Her husband, Tony Padron, added another detail that made the situation even harder to understand. He said they had a guest room available. Kody could have stayed with them instead of booking a hotel. The option existed, yet Kody never even asked. He arrived in North Carolina, filmed his television scene, and then left without spending time with any of the children who lived nearby. For someone claiming he wanted to rebuild relationships, the silence spoke louder than any apology delivered on camera. And for Mykelti, moments like that made one thing increasingly clear. The version of reconciliation viewers were seeing on television might not reflect reality at all.